You've been judging your entire life based on evidence that was never reliable to begin with, and there's a quieter voice underneath all that noise that's been waiting for you to listen. Stay with us, because later we're going to drop into a guided meditation that might be the most restful 15 minutes of your week. Here's the simple, almost startling argument we're working with today. You can't actually judge anything accurately, because the only evidence you're working with is what your senses hand you, and your senses have a long, well-documented history of getting things wrong. Optical illusions, misheard conversations. The face in the crowd you swore was someone you knew. We've all caught our perception lying to us in small ways. But somehow, in the bigger moments, the ones that actually shape our days, we treat what we see and hear and feel as if it's the final word. This lesson is about what happens when you stop doing that, not stop perceiving. Just stop treating every perception like a verdict. Let's get specific, because this isn't abstract. It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're mid-task. A notification pops up. A colleague has sent you an email and it contains exactly 4 words: "We need to talk." No context. No tone. No emoji to soften it. Just those 4 words sitting there in your inbox. And within 30 seconds, your mind has written an entire screenplay. You're being reprimanded. There's been a complaint. That comment you made in Thursday's meeting is being reviewed. You're being managed out. They've been collecting evidence. You start cross-referencing your last few conversations like a detective in your own life. For the next 2 hours, you're not really working. You're rehearsing. You're building a defense. You're imagining the meeting, what they'll say, what you'll say, the steady tone you'll try to keep in your voice. Your shoulders are up around your ears. You haven't taken a full breath in an hour. The meeting happens. They want to brainstorm a project with you. They thought you'd have good ideas. They smile. And the entire trial in your head, the charges, the evidence, the verdict, the 2 hours of physical tension, was a story your senses handed you, and you believed every single word of it. Here's a way to think about what just happened. Imagine you've been reading the news your entire life from a single station. One channel. One anchor. One editorial slant. And because it's the only channel you've ever known, you assumed it was just reality. You never thought to ask, who decided what gets covered? Who chose the framing? Who picked the music underneath the headline? That's your senses. That's the automatic interpretive machinery that's been running since before you could speak. It's not lying. Exactly. But it's curating. Filtering. Framing. By the time something reaches your conscious mind, it's already been edited. The 4-word email arrived with a soundtrack and a chiron at the bottom of the screen that read, "Threat." And here's the strange part. We don't question the broadcast. We don't ask why we're so certain. We just feel certain, and we act on it. Which brings us to something worth sitting with, that certainty you feel. It might actually be covering for the doubt underneath it. Think about it. When you're truly at peace with something, you don't need to defend it. You don't have to rehearse. The intensity of our convictions about who someone is, what they meant, what's about to happen, that intensity is often a tell. It's the volume turned up to drown out the part of us that isn't sure at all. Here's the turn. The thing that, once you see it, you can't unsee. During those 2 hours of dread after the email, you weren't actually judging the situation. You couldn't judge the situation, you didn't have the situation. You had 4 words. What you were doing was arguing with yourself, in your own head, using fragments of evidence you supplied to yourself, and then calling the result observation. You were the prosecutor making the case. You were the defendant building the rebuttal, and you were the jury delivering the verdict. All 3, inside one tired nervous system. On a Tuesday afternoon, this is what most of our thinking about situations actually is. It's not analysis. It's an internal courtroom where we're playing every role, and the trial never reaches a real verdict because there's no real evidence, just the story our senses curated for us. Notice the exhaustion this produces. Notice how much of your day is spent in this courtroom. The slightly cold tone from your partner this morning. The friend who hasn't texted back. The way your boss said, interesting, instead of, great. Each one becomes a small trial. Each one drains something. So what's the alternative? Because we're not going to stop having thoughts. We're not going to stop noticing things. The senses keep broadcasting. That's their job. The alternative is changing the channel. Not to another biased station with a different slant. That's just swapping one verdict for another. The alternative is tuning underneath the broadcast entirely. There's a steadier signal that's been there the whole time. Quieter. Less dramatic. Doesn't need to convince you of anything. In practice, it looks almost embarrassingly simple. The email arrives. The mind starts writing the screenplay. And instead of believing the screenplay, you notice you're writing one. You take the thought, they're angry with me, and instead of prosecuting it, you just hand it over. You say, internally, I don't actually know what this means. I'm going to let this be unclear for a few minutes. That's it. That's the practice. Not certainty replaced with new certainty. Certainty replaced with a kind of soft, open not knowing that lets the moment breathe. And here's what nobody tells you. This is a tremendous relief. When you stop trusting your automatic interpretations as final verdicts, you stop having to be the prosecutor, the defendant, and the jury in every situation. The courtroom empties out. The lights go down, and what's left is something that feels remarkably like rest. Your daily life doesn't really change. The emails still come, the tones still vary, your colleague still says, we need to talk, without context. Because people are people. But your relationship to all of it shifts. Things stop feeling like attacks that require an immediate defense. They start feeling more like noise you no longer have to decode. And in that quieter mental room, you start to notice something else. There's a part of you that was never in the courtroom, that wasn't ever interested in the trial, that has been waiting patiently for you to stop performing all the legal roles and just sit down for a minute. That's the channel underneath. That's the signal that was always there. We're going to spend the next 15 minutes there together. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to figure anything out. You just have to stop arguing the case for a little while and let something quieter come forward. Let's begin. If this felt grounding, you're welcome to like the video and subscribe. No rush. Just a gentle way to stay connected as we continue. Let your body settle into where you're sitting. You don't need to adjust anything dramatically. Just notice where you are, the weight of you, held by whatever is underneath you. Let your eyes close, if that feels okay, or soften your gaze toward the floor. Take one breath that's a little slower than the last one, and then let the breathing do whatever it wants to do. You don't have to manage it. Notice that there's a kind of low background hum in the mind. Thoughts arriving, thoughts leaving. Small verdicts being issued about the day, about this meditation, about whether you're doing it right. You don't have to argue with any of it. You don't have to make it stop. Just notice, there's the broadcast, the familiar channel, running like it always does. And underneath that broadcast, there is something quieter, something that was here before the thoughts started, and will still be here after they pass. You don't have to find it. You don't have to reach for it. You only have to stop arguing the case for a moment. Let the next thought arrive. And instead of taking it as evidence, instead of building on it, just let it pass through. Like a headline scrolling across the bottom of a screen you're no longer watching. Feel the shoulders soften. Feel the small muscles around the eyes release. There is nothing you need to figure out right now. No verdict required. No defense to prepare. Rest here. The breath comes in, the breath goes out. If a thought pulls you into a story, notice that, and gently return. Not with frustration, just with a small inward smile. There's the courtroom again, and you don't have to enter it. Let yourself be held by something that isn't asking anything of you. Something steady. Something that doesn't need to be convinced of who you are. Stay here for as long as you'd like. And when you're ready, let your attention drift back to the room. The sounds around you. The weight of your hands. The light against your eyelids. Take one full breath. And open your eyes when it feels natural. Thank you for practicing with us today. If you'd like, there's a free digital copy of A Course in Miracles available through the link in the description. You're also welcome to leave a simple comment such as, "I am grateful. Thank you for being here." For giving yourself this stretch of quiet in the middle of whatever your day is asking of you. If something landed today, let it land softly. You don't have to do anything with it yet. Just notice, this week, how often the courtroom opens for business, and how it feels to not take the case. Be gentle with yourself. We'll see you next time.